Hi there, Victor Bra speaking to you, anarchist artist. Well, it certainly is no surprise that anarchists are leveled with a lot of criticisms, and one such criticism, of course, being what about the roads, what about the poor, blah, 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 blah. All these type of concerns and objections have been dealt with by various philosophers and anarchist thinkers, and not to say that they're illegitimate concerns, and I can understand why people would get themselves in an uproar when hearing the anarchist espouse upon the whole idea of a stateless society and giving the moral arguments as to why that should be the case. Everything that the government is purported to offer and does offer at the barrel of a gun. Of course, the question of the roads, for example, a lot of people would suddenly think that the roads would suddenly evaporate, or they never would have been offered in the first place if it were not for a government. But all those types of questions have been dealt with time and time and time again. And so one of the unique arguments, of course, is that the challenge that's put to anarchists is that this idea that they're utopian dreamers. That's a very typical criticism, right? It's just the first thing that pops into somebody's head, right? So it's just like, and I love it. I just love it how people throw that shit at you. Human nature as well, and the roads and the poor, and utopian dreamers. It's just like, yeah, like people say it in such a way as if they're the first person to have said it. I've been studying philosophy for 30 years now, I guess, and every time I come across one of these guys, like they have this whole kind of arrogant, whole page one for this criticism. Hey, so you're an anarchist, eh? Yeah. Why don't you? What about the roads? Yeah. And what about the poor? Yeah. Yeah. Why don't you think about that? Like I've never heard this before. I never thought about it. Right? It's so pathetic. But one lesser known criticism that's hurled at the anarchists is the question of hierarchies. And so addressing that in this video, I'd like to read verbatim one criticism that was leveled at me, and I quote, "Even the most basic, prototypical, non-formalized governmental structure, the tribe, has governance, has a hierarchy. They are culturally organized with a leadership. A hierarchy." Hierarchy is in capital letters here, so just to drive the point home for me. The members of the tribe who could not cooperate within the hierarchy were cast out for the betterment of the tribe. There is no such thing as a pure functional anarchy. There never has been in thousands of years of recorded history, and there never will be. Even the most basic unit, the family, contains a hierarchy. Unquote. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Challenge. And so I just thought that I would look up the definition of hierarchy before plunging into any kind of rebuttal or response to this individual. And what I found was hierarchy, noun, 1. Any system or persons or things ranked one above the other. 2. Government by ecclesiastical rulers. 3. The power or dominion of a hierarch. 4. An organized body of ecclesiastical officials in successive ranks or orders, like the Catholic hierarchy. So basically, with these very broad definitions that this person has given, and even within the definition that I looked up, he's talking about leadership, and he's talking about like the family has a hierarchy, and you will even find hierarchies in in businesses where you have the owners, the upper management to middle management down to a supervisor, the supervisor to the employees, etc. You have this as a hierarchy. So if this is basically the challenge that's being leveled at me with this individual, and also like a family, you have the hierarchy there, parents to the children. Okay, so if that's if this is all a part of what encompasses definitions of hierarchy, I would say that yeah, I agree. You do have hierarchy in society, but what the thing though, however, is that is not to say that it's inevitable, that it's woven in the fabric of things, that we must have a state though, to have a government. Okay, a government can be distinguished from all these other types of hierarchies, in that the state is a violent monopolization, and it's presented as a moral ideal. Okay, this is the thing that people just have so much trouble getting their heads around. The state is a violent monopolization, and it's presented as a moral ideal. In other words, it's a necessary evil, or there'd be chaos, and there'd be random destruction, and it would be an entire society would break down if it was not for this violent monopolization. And I don't believe that at all. I do not believe that whatsoever. So in regards to all of these other hierarchies, yeah, you would have that in a society. You do have people who take natural leadership, who have a certain amount of charisma, and spit polish their hair, and have shiny white teeth, and they have a lot of gung-ho-ness, and they just go in there and they're just natural leaders, and and there's a lot of people who just follow suit, and they're captivated by this person. There's leaders and there's followers. There's the managerial level in business, where you do have a hierarchy. You have families. You even have cult leaders who subjugate the inductees to a certain cult. There's all types of things where there's natural hierarchies that I don't have necessarily anything against. I don't have any serious moral case to make against certain hierarchies that you do find, and in other cases I would, like such as cults. Of course, it's a terrible thing, and I suspect that this will be characteristic of society for until the end of time, where you'll have that. But there is nothing to say whatsoever. There is nothing to say that we can't outgrow the state, though. The state is something that I'm distinguishing from all these other hierarchies, in that, number one, that it's a violent monopolization. It's presented as a moral ideal, and it encompasses an entire geographical area, not just one given slotted area, like on a factory floor where you have management to the staff. We're talking, and it's one where you can quit the job, but so long as you're there working for a given company, yeah, there will be a hierarchical structure right there. But that's not the case of a government, where a small cadre of people stick a flag into into the ground and indicate through violence and then eventual brainwashing over an entire geographical area. This whole geographical area spreading out for 100,000 miles to the east and to the west and north and south is we claim dominion over this, and then they purport to do it on the moral and legal grounds. That's why I am an anarchist. That's the type of the idea of a stateless society that does not have a government and does not have a centralized force over and dominion over people, a violent monopoly. If I'm against that, that makes me an anarchist, though. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm waiting for the day where there's going to be a completely egalitarian, utterly playing equal field when it comes to all of society and all of its various ramifications and forms of association that can take place within, to say that I'm against all of hierarchy. That's not where I stand whatsoever. And if that's where the anarcho-communists are coming from, then I would say, yeah, they're pretty much utopian. But I'm not going to be stripped of my anarchist credentials because I don't follow in line with that. I'm against the state. I'm against the state, which has been given a definition and has been hammered home 100,000 times. It's a small cadre of individuals in a certain geographical area who have arrogated to themselves the moral and legal right to initiate force. They have the power to print money. They have the power to propagandize. They have the power to exert enormous, overwhelming physical force. And that's the type of thing that I'm against. So, and that's the type of thing that humanity can outgrow. There is nothing to say that we can't wake up and finally outgrow this as a human species, to abolish this, to have it to fade away as people begin to intellectually and morally mature. We had plantation slavery at one time. That we outgrew that. Okay, we don't. We're highly sensitive when it comes to racial matters. We become uber sensitive, where you have the politically correct phenomena. And the very idea of somebody saying in 2012, in all seriousness, and broadcast it over to a large audience, for somebody to say, you know what, I think that we should return to the plantation slavery days, the good old days, and keep those stinking niggers in line, and so we can just have them whips on the back and producing cotton and all other types of good. That's what I advocate. Such a person would be scorned, and properly so, and would be ostracized, I take it, from large circles of people all around, right? There would be an outcry, there'd be an uproar, and I think that that's wonderful. That's wonderful. But, and I think that there will be a time, if that anybody, the idea of taking the state, the government, and the pageantry of it, the violence, the blood-drenched violence of a violent monopoly, of somebody suggesting that I'd like to take a leadership and just force an entire generation of people over a geographical area, and have guns in the military, and to have exclusive domain on the money supply, and to overtake schools, and overtake all different types of industry, medicine, and nationalize the coal mines, and blah blah blah. I think there will be a day where, if anybody that said that, would pretty much be viewed as the guy who's talking about returning to plantation slavery. There's nothing to say that we can outgrow this monstrosity whatsoever, but it doesn't mean that, like all hierarchies as given by these definitions right here, that all of that has to be raised off as well. If the anarcho-communists want to daydream about that, let them. But I'm sure that there's a lot of anarcho-capitalists who pretty much are on board with me when it comes to the question of distinguishing these concepts. Anarchism, the state, government, hierarchy, taking a look at these definitions and seeing what's realistic, what is more important on a hierarchy of values, to discover where we should focus our energies. And if we're going to sit here and spritz on about where there must be no religious dominance whatsoever, no freedom of expression when it comes to a religion, where you would probably have hierarchy in that. And everybody has to be playing on an equal playing field, no private property, no factory owners, and no managers, and no parent to family or parent to child kind of a dominion or control or whatnot. Some of this is very bad, some of it's neutral, some of it is whatever. But that's not where I'm coming from, so I just hope to clarify that whole position. This is Victor Pross signing out, anarchist artist. Pop goes the culture.